Namaste. I, Hetal Bavishi, your social science teacher, would like to make you explain one of the chapter of 10th standard, Economic Development. But before starting with the real content of the chapter, I would like to ask you some questions like, first, do you know what do you mean by development? And the next question is, what do you mean by economy? And the third, we know well that how many countries we have in the world, they all are divided into either a developed or developing. That how this classification took place, how they are classified as they are developing or developed. As you all are not in front of me, so I would only answer all these three questions today. Let's answer the first one, which is, what do you mean by development? Development means continuous process of growth, right? Whenever we are achieving something additional from where we are or we are going one step ahead, then that is termed as development. Next one, I asked you what is economy. Then economy means prosperity of the country, wealth structure of the country, right? And the third one which I asked was how it is decided that a particular country is developed or developing. Then it is decided on the basis of per capita income, right? Now let's start with the chapter. This is how we are learning chapter number 15 of 10th standard today, which is economic development, right? But before starting with the chapter, let me introduce some of the important terms required for this chapter. The first such term is national income. Now what do you mean by a national income? We know well that whenever I am talking about nation's development, basically it is the development of the people living in the country. Nation itself cannot develop. Nation's development is always showed by the people living in the country. So national income means the total income of the country. Again, total income of the country means country is not going to earn, but the people who are living in the country and are earning, their total income during the year is termed as national income of the country, right? On the basis of national income of the country, we would be able to calculate our per capita income. When I am talking about per capita, I am talking about per head income, right? Whatever current national income of the country, that has to be divided among total population of the country to obtain per head income. As per our last census, we know well that India's current population is 121 crore. We are taking it from the last census. We know well that the current population of India is 121 crore according to the last census. So whatever earning population is earning in our country, that we have to divide by total population. And the figure which we will obtain is known as per capita income. More the per capita income, more the country is developed. Basically, each and every country is developed or developing is decided on this basis only. So each and every human has to have maximum income, not for its family, but also for its country, right? These were the basic two terms which were required to know about economic development. Now further, we should have the question that basically, do economic development means only earning the wealth? No, then again it's not that criteria. Economic development of any nation, economic development of any nation is always calculated on 3 parameters, which are: there should be constant increase in national income, there should be constant increase in per capita income. Then you might thought about that, madam, if there is increase in national income, obviously there would be increase in per capita income. No, it is not the criteria if population goes on increasing, right? So national income has to increase, per capita has to increase, and the third one, even living standard of the people has to be raised. Only earning is not enough. With earning, even the standard of living of people should rise. Then what is counted into the standard of people? Right? Standard of living of the people would include food, clothing, shelter, health facility, education, etc. These all are counted into the standard of living. If the person living in a country obtaining all these things very easily, then we can say that standard of living of that particular country's people is good. Right? So I am again repeating, what do you mean by economic development? Economic development means increase in national income, increase in per capita income, and increase in standard of living of the people living in the country. Right? Now let's move towards another such topic, which is the difference between economic development and economic progress. I am explaining you two terms, development and progress. You might be thinking that development and progress are one and the same only. Development is also growth, progress is also growth. But development is always an initial state, whereas progress is the stage after achieving development. Yes or no? So what we would be doing is, any country who want to be economically developed, they have to achieve economic development first. After being declared as economically developed, do it is such that they have to stop everything now, no more growth requires? No, they will move towards economic progress, right? Before understanding the differences, keep one thing very clear in mind. Economic development is always for developing nations, whereas economic progress is always for developed nations. Developing countries cannot talk about economic progress until they achieve economic development. Yes or no? Then economic development is for developing nations and economic progress is for developed nations. First difference is, economic development or developing countries would focus more on qualitative, or economic development is qualitative, whereas economic progress is quantitative. Why they are being quantitative and we being qualitative? Being the developing country, we need to focus more on quality. They have already achieved quality, so they would focus more on quantity, right? So the first difference is, economic development is qualitative and economic progress is quantitative. Second one, on the basis of new research and hybrid seeds, when there is an increase in the agricultural production, it is known as economic development. Whenever we are increasing any kind of agricultural production by using hybrid seeds and new research, then that is termed as economic development. But when there is an increase in agricultural production due to increase in cultivable land, cultivable means agricultural land, that is termed as economic progress. When we will achieve any kind of increase in agriculture by new research or hybrid seeds, it is economic development. They are already using it. So they would be considered as having the progress when they would be using more cultivable or agricultural land and they increase agricultural production. Right? The third and the last one. Whenever there is an increase in national income of developing country, it is called economic development. When there is an increase in national income in developing countries, it is always termed as economic development. On the other side, when there is an increase in national income of developed country, developed means they are already at the peak, at the height of development, then that is termed as economic progress. Now let's move towards the topic of features of the developing economy. Developing economy or developing country. We can say any either of the both. What are the features, means what are the characteristics of the particular nation being developing country, right? Then before starting with the features, we would like to know that according to the World Development Report of the year 2004 published by World Bank, it is decided that $735, how many? $735 is the minimum requirement of per capita income for any country to be called themselves as economically developed. Now why dollar? Because it is an universal currency. So as taking dollars as the universal currency for each and every country of the world, if they want to fit themselves into the developed nation cadre, then they are supposed to have, what is their per capita income? $735. If I consider that in India, if I convert this $735 into rupees, it is near about 50,000 rupees. I am just giving an aggregate, not an exact figure. But $735 means 50,000 rupees per capita income should be there of each and every individual living in the country. Then we can say that we are developed nation, right? If we compare the current scenario, you would be shocked by the figures. Current per capita income of India is near about 10,000 rupees, and we need to reach the per capita of 50,000 if I want to consider India into the cadre of developing, from developing to developed nation. Are you getting? So current per capita income of India is nearby 10,000. But if we want to become India a developed country, we are supposed to take it to the cadre of 50,000. right? These data are according to the last report published, right? Now let's move towards the features or characteristics that why a developing country is having some of the hindrance to call themselves as developed nation. Then first such feature is less per capita income. We just shared the same. Our current per capita is near about 10 to 15,000 rupees, which we compare with 50,000 is very, very less. So obviously this is one of the feature of India or any developing economy, that they are suffering from less per capita income. Second such factor is population growth. Obviously population growth means increase in population. Mostly in the developing nation, the problem of population rise is at the figure of 2% or more. Any developing country is facing the problem of population growth of 2% or more. When I am talking about the figure 2%, it sounds very small. The 2% population growth is acceptable. But in the overpopulated country like us, this 2% comes to the big figure. Let's see an example of the same. As we have talked earlier, I have taken that only as an example. As per the last census, India's population is 121 crore. Now if I would be calculating 2% of its increasing every year, so obviously 121 crore into 2 upon 100. So it is coming to 2 crores and 42 lakh peoples every year. Now this figure is big enough, right? So if we consider it percentage wise, we might feel that it is very less, but when it comes to the actual figure, because actually we are having an overpopulous country, right? Okay, again it is not only the problem of India, it is all the countries who are having overpopulation, they have this problem to be faced, right? Third such feature is their dependence on agriculture. We know well, if again we take an example of India, India is a country whose dependence is on agriculture, means the main occupation of majority of the people living in the country is agriculture. Now having dependence on agriculture is not the problem, but the problem lies there when agriculture is the major occupation and their dependence is on rain. Again, we know well about the irregularity of rain, right? For that such reason, what is happening? 60% of the total population is dependent on agriculture, while only 26% is achieved as national income from agriculture. Now this is something which needs to be increased as we want to achieve the race of being developed country. Yes or no? But for that we need to have much things to be done in the area of agriculture, right? So till now we have discussed three features which are less per capita income, population growth and dependence on agriculture. Moving towards the fourth one, which is unequal distribution of income. This is also known as disparity of income. Now what do you mean by disparity or unequal distribution? This means that rich will become more richer and poor will become more poorer. Now why this scenario happens? For the reason we know well that money attracts money. It is easy to multiply money, but it is easy to gain money. Yes or no? So what is the current situation of unequal distribution? That 20% of the rich people, 20% of the total population who are rich enough, They are sharing 40% of national income. Now can you imagine 20% population is building up or sharing 40% of the national income, whereas last cadre, which is 20% of the poor people, 20% of the poor people are sharing only 10% of the national income. This is how there is a big disparity. You are able to see that number of persons are same, percentage of people are same, but the national income which they are building up is having the great difference. So this is leading us to the unequal distribution of income, right? Moving towards the fifth such feature, which is unemployment. We might know around that situation regarding jobs are very pathetic. Being the overpopulous country, we know well that where we require 100 people, 1 lakh people gives an interview. Yes or no? So what would be the current situation? That developing countries would be having the scenario of unemployment. Obviously, unemployment will lead to many other such destructions, right? Current situation of unemployment in the developing economy is 3% of the total labor. Okay, now why of the total labor? We cannot count each and every individual living in the country who don't want to earn into the unemployment cadre. Any person who wants to earn and not getting the job, then only that person is counted as unemployed. There are many other parameters too. Yes or no? So we would be counting 3% of the total labor, not of the total population, right? So 3% of the total labor is unemployed. Again, 3% is looking very small figure, but when it multiplies to the huge population, the figure will come to the big one. Yes or no? So even unemployment is one of the factors of the developing economy. Next one is poverty. Obviously, unemployment is also related to poverty. Unemployment will lead us to poverty. They are interrelated, right? So even poverty is one of such feature of developing economy, right? Now what is the situation of poverty in most of the developing economy? That 1/3 of the total population, 1/3 of the total population is always or is majority of the time poor. Now how we will calculate 1/3? If we would be dividing the total populations into 3 parts, then 1 part is poor, right? Again, this is the serious situation to matter, to ponder upon, right? If we want to achieve developed countries cadre, we have to remove poverty. We have to remove unemployment. These all are the characteristics which need to be solved to have achieved the cadre of developed nation, right? Next such 7th feature is dual economy. As the word dual means two. Yes or no? We all know well that dual means two. Then dual economy means that in the developing countries, 2 economies run side by side. Now how the 2 economies run? For example, in cities and villages, there is a vast difference in the life in the city and the life in the villages. Yes or no? On one side, if I talk about cities, we have each and every modern facilities like good buildings, good hospitals, infrastructures which is very much good, theaters for our enjoyment, very good restaurants, yes or no, places to roam around, yes or no. We have everything which is highly advanced, technology oriented. If I talk about in the agricultural field, in the city or in the urban areas, we are doing agriculture majority by having machines. Yes or no? But on the other side, if we talk about villages, the scenario, the criteria is totally different. Yes or no? In villages, today also age-old traditions are used for agriculture. Their houses are not high-tech as of us. Their facilities are not high-tech as of us. Yes or no? So this difference is known as dual economy. Right? This is again one of the feature of a developing economy where there is much difference in the lifestyle of the people living in cities and villages. Right? Moving towards the 8th one, which is insufficient infrastructural facilities. Now, infrastructural facilities means advanced facilities infrastructure wise, land, building, railways, roads, these all can be modified to the latest versions yet. Yes or no? Right? On one side, I have shown you that in the dual economy, we have differences in cities and villages life. If city life is better, we are far behind if we consider ourselves with developed countries. Yes or no? So even much work is pending infrastructural wise, technology wise, facility wise to be done in the developing countries to achieve the cadre of developed nation. And the last one, form of international trade. Now what do you mean by an international trade? When I am sending something or receiving something from foreign countries, when I am sending, it is known as export. When I am receiving, it is known as import. If we want the country to show growth, we should always have export more and import less. Yes or no? We should have export more from our country. The things should go in the foreign countries more, and we should have less number of things coming to our country from foreign countries if we want money to circulate in our market. Are you getting? So this is the positive criteria of the form of international trade. But basically in the developing countries, scenario is opposite, situation is opposite. Their export is less and import is more. This export less and import more will lead us to the negative international trade. Are you getting? So that will lead us to the developing economy. Every year, crores of rupees from our economy will move back to the foreign economies. Yes or no? Right? These were the 9 features of the developing economy. Right? Till now we have studied what do you mean by economic development. Then we have seen the difference between economic development and economic progress. And then we have learnt the features of the developing economy. Right? Now moving towards a topic of economic and non-economic activities. Now what is the difference between in a day We do many activities. Some of them are economic, some of them are non-economic. Yes or no? Each and every activity we do in a day will not give us monetary gain. Right? So each and every person during the whole day performing many duties, some of them are economic, some of them are non-economic. Then how to be classified? Economic activities means activity which give us monetary gain. What is monetary gain? Which gives us money. Right? And non-economic activity means any activity which does not give us any monetary gain. Right? So, example of economic activity means any person who is doing job. Now obviously he is doing job to earn money, but the same person might be performing some of the household duties too. Then that household duty which he or she is performing is counted as non-economic activity. So here we have completed the topic of economy and relating some topics of economy, and we have seen what is economic and non-economic activity. Now rest of the chapter where factors of production and some of the parameters are remaining, that we would be continuing in part 2. Thank you so much.